So while YCS Providence went pretty well, finishing day 2 is great. I want to continue with the improvements, so I think we're going to put the Fiendsmith Kashtira deck down. I have another idea of a deck I want to try, and this week will be really interesting because we're going to be learning a new deck, as well as one of the tournaments is a box tournament for Alliance Insights, so there's some pretty good prizes on the line, and it's really just down to playing well. But we're going to change up the deck a little bit. We're taking out all those Fiendsmith cards and stuff like that. We're going to just change strategies entirely. We're going to do a very big 180 from playing like 20 plus hand traps to trying to play not very many comparatively. So let's just jump right down in. All right, so like I said, we're going to change things up a little bit here. We're going to be going away from the Fiendsmith Kashtira deck, and I picked up all this stuff to try Regeneration. So this is a theme that centers around 2500 attack or defense monsters, which is pretty cool. And I think it just offers a ton of agency in games. It's a very simple strategy, but I like it a lot. It's very much a deck that seems like I would like to play. And I'm still going to keep playing the Kashtira cards because Unicorn is a 2500 attack normal attack monster, which is pretty great. There's also, in theory, some potential synergy between the Regeneration cards and the Primate cards, because I can always just summon like a normal monster with 2500 attack. So that's something to consider. Like, if I wanted to do dragons, I could go like Ryu or something. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just kind of go through the deck really quick and see what... or let's go through... I'm going to go through the Regeneration cards really quick just to explain what they all do. So we can all be aware of what the heck I'm building. So first up is Regeneration Archfiend. 2500 to 2500, level 7, I believe. Let's see, 3, 6, 2, 4, 6. Oh, it's level 8. Interesting. Level 8, Earth Fiend. You can special summon it from your hand. So they all have a sprite effect where they can be special summoned from the hand. This one is by revealing another monster 2500 attack or defense in my hand. I'll only summon it once per turn that way. And then I can use each of the following effects once per turn. If it's normal or special summoned, I can add a Regeneration card from deck or banishment to the hand, except for another copy of Archfiend, so it can't search itself. And then during the opponent's end phase, if it was sent to the graveyard that turn and it's in the graveyard, I can add it back to hand. So that's going to be, I think, kind of like the key idea here, is that this deck is just a really grindy deck. We'll go over Lord last because it's kind of just like the so far it seems like the jankiest one. But Regeneration Sage. 25-25. This one's a level 7. So it's got the same summoning effect, except that if I have the same summoning effect, sort of. I shouldn't say the same. It's if I have a 2500 attack monster on the field, 2500 attack or defense monster on the field, it can be special summoned. And then you can only use the following effects once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one other Regeneration card from your hand or face-up field to the grave, negate the activation, and destroy that card. So that's pretty good. Then during the opponent's end phase, if it was in the graveyard because it's sent there this turn, add it back to hand. So we get a recyclable Omni Negate. Although the attribute is important to note, so that means that it doesn't work with Dominus Purge. So that's something to consider. Regeneration Dragon is a level 8. Same summoning effect as Sage, so if it's 25 attack or defense on the field at all, special summon it from your hand. So even if they have one, which is going to be really good, then the following effects are once per turn. You contribute this card as a quick effect, then target one spell or trap your opponent controls and banish it. So this is actually, I think, going to be really good against Malice, because depending on my hand traps, so this is a deck I think I can play like Effect Veiler and stuff in. Because if I have Regeneration Dragon out and they go to set a card, I can always just tribute this right away, banish it if I know they're playing Malice, and then they can't bluff a trap card. And then I can always use my Effect Veilers and stuff like that. And then, of course, it's got the typical, if it's in the grave in the opponent's end phase, because it's sent there this turn, add it back to hand. Regeneration Warrior, same summoning condition as Dragon and Sage, but its effect is that you contribute it, then target one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So that's really good because it's a non-targeting or non-destructive removal card, and then it can recycle itself. Regeneration is the search spell. You take one Regeneration monster from your deck and either add it to hand or send it to the graveyard. Or if you control a Regeneration monster, you can add one monster 2500 attack and defense from your deck to your hand instead. So that could be interesting. I'll have to go over some of the stat lines on Neuron later, because that could potentially be interesting. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn is sent there, you can banish it, then target one Regenesis monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So that's really good too, because it's also a Reborn. So turn 1, I can always just search for a card, and then turn 2, I can banish this to Reborn, which is going to be really good. So this is a deck that could potentially have a Lancia problem though, because this obviously can't banish to do that. And then I won't be able to use Regenesis Dragon under Lancia as well, but that's something to note. Regenesis Code, special summon a Regenesis monster from your deck. That's a quick effect. Or this is a quick play spell, so that's crazy. And then sent to the graveyard during your opponent's end phase. Also until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, it cannot special summon from the extra deck. So there's lots out of the extra deck, but it is an E-Tally, which is really good. And then during your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, the turn it was sent there, you can banish it, then target one of your banished Regenesis monsters and special summon it. So that's really good too. So if they banish anything, you can always special summon it back with Code, which is pretty cool. That also means the deck has synergy with Sacred Sword of the 7 Stars. I'm not sure that that's something I really want to do with Droll. Probably going to be more popular because of Mitsurugi running around, but that is something to note, is that I can always Sacred Sword away one of the guys and then banish it to bring it back. Although it's really just the Fire and Water that I could, because these ones are level 8s, so that doesn't seem that great. But if they get banished, it is worth noting. That's actually really good into Malice, because if they white binder my names, I can always bring it back. And then Regenesis Birth, this card is crazy. You can send one Regenesis monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position. So we'll just stop right there, because this means that already this deck has an incredible amount of interaction on the opponent's turn. We have an Omni Negate, we have a Spell Trap Banish, Monster Bounce, and then now a Book of Moon. So going first, this deck has a ton of interaction. Going second, it just has big bodies. But the cool thing about that, though, is that if the deck I'm worried about the most is probably Malice and even Mitsurugi, I have multiple ways to deal with that, because I can always Book of Moon their monsters, and then if they don't have a way to tribute them, that's really good. I can negate their cards. I can banish Ritual, for example, which would be really good. And then we can always return the Ritual monsters to the hand, for example, so then they have to resummon them again because that card was no longer properly summoned. But then Birth has more effects. During your opponent's turn, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon as many Regenesis monsters as possible with different names from your hand, graveyard, and banishment, but send them to the graveyard during the end phase. And you can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn. So even if they do banish stuff, I can always just use Birth on their turn to special summon back all my Regenesis cards, and then they're sent to the graveyard. The cool thing about Birth as well too is that that means that I am then able to utilize the ones that I might have had to discard with Sage, for example. So they get recycled that way, which is really good. And then Regenesis Lord, I picked this up as well, just in case. Not sure how good it is. It's a level, let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jeez. Illusion. Oh yeah, all their typing is probably important. So Regenesis Archfiend is a Fiend, then we have Warrior, Dragon, and Sage is a Spellcaster, and now we have Lord, which is an Illusion. So that's kind of cool. So that means we can play cards like there could be only one. But let's see, can it be normal summon or set? Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one face-up monster you control with 2500 original attack and defense. So it has to banish one of these to do it. But that is also important to note, because that means that Code can bring these back, and so can Birth. You can only special summon Regenesis Lord once per turn this way. If this card is special summoned, you can set one Regenesis spell or trap directly from your deck. That's pretty cool. It doesn't lose to Ash. And let's see. Gains 2500 attack during the battle phase only, so it's a 5000 attack point monster. Okay. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So it's a 5000 piercing. That's pretty good. So that might be worth playing. Not totally sure. It's kind of just like a big, just a giant card, but that might not be the worst thing. And then some other cards that I pulled aside just because I think they might work really well. I want to see Unicorn more because I can reveal it for these. So Raidsoth, Theosis, again to get to Unicorn. Like I mentioned, because of cards like Birth being able to Book of Moon and stuff like that, and then the Dragon, I think Valor might be pretty solid. Ogre seems really good right now, just in general. There's the new card, Dragon's Mind. This card is really good. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated while you control a monster with 2500 original attack or defense, negate the activation, destroy that card. If this card is in your graveyard, you can pay 2500 life points, set it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's a recyclable Solemn Judgment, which is, I guess, almost Solemn Judgment, which is pretty good. Terraforming just to grab the pressure planet, and then I definitely want to side Solemn Judgment with this deck. The synergy with there can be only one is pretty obvious. And then I have pulled aside 3 Super Polys because this card just seems really crazy right now. A couple of things that I've pulled aside here as well are Super Poly targets. So we have Mud Dragon, Garura, and then World Chalice Guard Dragon Almarduk. This one just seems really, really crazy into Malice, like letting them set up the full board if you have Super Poly. And then let's see, what does it do? Must either be fusion summoned or special summoned from the extra deck by attributing the above cards you control. So that's never going to happen. But it takes 3 link monsters, so that's a pretty easy Super Poly when they get to the giant Ignister Link 5. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. When an attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's Link monster, you can banish 1 Link monster with the same Link rating as that monster from your field or graveyard and destroy that monster. And if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. So that's pretty good. It's just a board wipe type thing because you can hit all the things. And then I figured Almirage to go into SP so it can banish itself for Unicorn and Fenrir access. Got IP, access code, Unicorn. I don't know what I did with my Quarter Century. Awkward. Psychic End Punisher, just because level 8s go with a level 3 hand trap, and then you just have like an unaffected guy. Chinging. I guess I got 2 Psychic End Punishers. We'll just get rid of the Collector's Rare. Got the Quarter Century right there. And then some generic rank 7s and a Dingirsu, just because there's a couple of level 8s. Not sure if Dingirsu is better than something like Hope Harbinger or anything like that, but that's what we have so far. So we'll pull all this aside, grab the extra deck and side deck here for the Fiendsmith deck, because we're going to have to pull this aside and take out some cards in our deck here. Let's see, looking at the side deck, I'm still definitely side Lancia, probably Chaos Hunter. Not sure on Phantasme. I like Perulia, I like these, and these will get replaced by the Judgments and the Dragon's Mind. I think that that's going to be more important to have those because I also do set Birth, so... Also, I could see playing Regenesis with the Fiendsmith cards, so that's something to consider in the future as well. But for right now, I'm going to try with just Cashtira, so I'll take out all of these. These 2 are definitely going to go in the deck. This one's definitely going to go in the deck, and that's it. So, that was a very quick adjustment there. Looking at the deck itself, though, I think that's pretty obvious. The Unicorns, Fenrir go in the deck. All the Fiendsmith stuff can go out. Space Connector Engine can go out, as well as Small World. Rest in peace to that. That was really fun, but I'll try this a little differently. I think Fua is definitely a card I'm going to want in the deck. I don't particularly like Fulos right now, but I think it's probably still worth having. Droll needs to go somewhere. I still think Bell is crazy. Ash, Imperm. Nibiru maybe, Bestials maybe, but they do conflict with the Regenesis cards, and maybe Talents and Coldvine. Not totally sure yet. But we have all that stuff that we're for sure keeping, and then for sure putting aside. So, let's see. Regenesis cards. So we've got the Regenesis engine, the Cashier engine, and then non-engine and other. So we'll separate it that way. So I definitely want to play Birth. Code is definitely a card that's going to be played. I'm not sure if it's going to be like 1, 2, or 3. Obviously, you have to play 3 Regenesis. Sage, I think honestly all of these, the utility ones, you only play at 1 because they're searchable. Lord is kind of up in the air, and then Archfiend is definitely 3 of. So the minimum that we have to play is this. These 3 are kind of up in the air. And then we've got 3 planets, because Unicorn access is so big. 3 Unicorn, because getting access to that's important. 3 Fenrir, and then I think just these 2. I want to play Theosis just because then I can always just search Theosis with Unicorn and summon Fenrir and have 2 level 7s that are 2 interrupts. Honestly, just like I said before with the comparison of the Fiendsmith engine being like the Machina engine for the Gadget deck, which is what I always say the Kashtira deck is. This is just another Machina engine. Like, it's just another secondary engine that does a lot for the deck. So let's go ahead and sleeve that up. And we'll sleeve the pressure planets, because those are for sure going in the deck. Might have to change sleeves. These sleeves are getting a little gross looking. But really quick, shoutouts to the Ulti Aqua Dolphin. Shoutouts to I think it's Grimm's Games. That is Grimm. One of the vendors, Grimm. They hooked me up with this first ed clean Aqua Dolphin. Look at the condition on that. That's crazy. Anyway, moving on. Just wanted to throw out some appreciation to them because they're very nice. They made sure to take care of me over the Providence weekend. Same with the side deck. Shout out to the side deck. Big fan of both those stores. And as always, if you want to pick up any of the cards found in this video, use the affiliate link down below. A small portion of that does go to the channel, so you're helping me out as well, while picking yourself up some pretty awesome cards, which is always good. I'm gonna sleeve up these cards here. I think Code is probably gonna be like a 2 or a 3 of, honestly. Oh, not totally sure. I don't want to say it's a 2 of. I have to count how many starter cards I have. Oh man, this inner sleeve is not behaving. But it's probably just gonna be a 3 of, because honestly, it's all of the Regeneration monsters. Blocking out the extra deck really doesn't matter that much with this deck, because I don't feel like you're gonna play into your extra deck too heavily. But more than that, it's also just sets up the graveyard effects pretty well. So maybe I just play it at 3. Because the more I think about it, the better this card just seems, honestly, overall. It just seems like a pretty busted card. So for now, you know what, we're gonna sleeve up 2 of them. We're gonna sleeve up all 3 just in case. That card seems pretty darn nice, thinking about it. This set to the side for now. Looking at the non-engine, we'll talk about these ones in a second. I think this is a for sure. This is a for sure. This is a for sure. I want more actual interaction. Like, I feel like Joel Lockbird might not be bad, maybe. Well, you know what? Droll plus like any of the interactions is just gonna be like suffocating. So maybe we just main deck the Drolls. I was originally considering side decking it, but I think it might just be worth main decking. And I'm gonna play Ghost Ogre, I think, over Nibiru. I was gonna main deck Nibiru, but the more I think about it, the more I just don't want that card. Like, it's good when I go first, because then you have to kind of play into Nibiru. But honestly, the idea of having just a giant Nibiru token with all the 25/25s is really scary. I'm not totally sure I'm sold on it. I'll probably side deck the Nibirus though. And I think that's almost certainly gonna happen. I'm gonna take out the Cold by the Grave, because I kind of want to play I'm not totally sold on this card yet either. Lord seems cool as just another utility card. Like I can search and then just summon it and have like a giant beater. And this can obviously attack over anything, which is gonna be really good. But I'm not sure how realistic that it is. But yeah, we'll put it in for now. Let's see, we got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 14, 16, 18, 21, 24, 25, 28, 31, 34, 37, 38, 39. So we're missing at least one card. I think that's 39. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 14. 14 on engine is a little low, but it's fine. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, so we can get at least one more card in the deck. I guess I could just main deck the Brulias. Give myself 5 Charmies. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. Or I could just main deck the Triple Dice Talent. I think I have to play the Charmies just to give myself 16 non-engine, which will put me over that threshold to see 2 more often. I don't really like Brulias, but it's fine. Move you off to the side here. So for the side deck, I'm definitely siding Bell. I think that is 100% something I have to do. Definitely gonna side deck these. Because more than anything, Chaos Hunter in this deck is especially cool because it is a 2500 attack point monster, so it actually synergizes really well with the engine. Kind of want to side the Nibiru's as well. Then I'm gonna take out the Bestials. Then I'm gonna side Nibiru's and Talent for when I go second. And then I can just play like kind of a blowout game when I go second. So let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see. Don't need these. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I really want to play Super Poly. I'm not sure what I would cut for it. Maybe we'll come back to the side in a second. We're gonna look at the extract because if I can make room for Super Poly in the extract reasonably, then I might just shoehorn it in here. Like, okay, so if I can play Super Poly, then I'm definitely gonna play it over the Nibiru's, I think. That's the way we're gonna do this. So this is gonna be good. These are good. I like the rank 7s. Gearson might be decent, but it seems like it probably realistically isn't going to come up. I don't know about this. And then there's this. So right now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17 total extract cards. Gearson is definitely the first thing I'm cutting. I don't think that's realistically going to come up. My issue with IP specifically, and I think this is the reason it's not going to make the cut, is that it's so IP is good for making a unicorn on their turn or SP, but it seems kind of weak. I can also just cut the Psychic and Punisher because looking at it, how many level 8s do I play? I play Dragon, and so I played Dragon and Archfiend. So Dragon and Archfiend are both level 8s, but I just don't feel like the IP is going to come up enough. I don't like ending on IP anymore, honestly. I think it's just super weak, but I think this package might be solid because I can definitely get to the bodies for a unicorn. Like I can always just and Almirage being able to make an SP line is pretty solid. Yeah. Let's see, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I like those. 15. Okay. So we have our 15. So we're going to go back to the side deck now. This is not my side deck. Oh, here it is. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we have 15 here. But we can be a little cheeky and take out the Nibiru's and the Talent. This is like one of my favorite cards, so I might just main deck it, but we could go 3 Super Polys. And I think I'm at 41 right now. Anything in here I think could be dropped down. Because this is a deck I think that we want to keep as close to 40 as possible, just for consistency's sake. Because looking at it, we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, no, we have 18 starters. So, you know what? I'm just going to put this to 42 with Talent in the main, and then I'm going to assign 3 Super Polys, because 18 starters is a really high amount. So, let's go ahead, unsleeve, and then I don't have to play Nibiru, which is not a card I ever want to play. If you're ever wondering why I hate Nibiru, by the way, it's not even that I really hate it. I think the card's fine. My issue with Nibiru is I don't want to play a card that requires my opponent to be winning or to be like comboing off for me to get to play it. I want my cards to be live as often as possible with as little effort as possible. So you'll notice like a lot of the hand traps that I play are very low impact. That's because I don't mind playing a lower impact deck if it means that my cards are live more often. Nibiru is like a high impact card, but the issue with playing Nibiru is that it's only useful if they are already playing, and then you have to hope that it's going to be useful enough, and it has to be paired with something. So it's like a multi-issue card for me, honestly. It's not a card I'm particularly fond of. It's not a card that I dislike immensely either. It's just not something that I'm too keen on ever when I'm deck building. But let's go ahead and get the rest of this sleeved up, and then we'll just quickly go through the deck profile for those who didn't want to sit through me yapping for, looks like almost half an hour here. So I'll get this sleeved up, we'll do the deck profile. Okay, so just in case you didn't want to sit through me yapping for half an hour while deck building, here is relatively quickly, what I'm playing this week for locals. Or at least the first iteration of the deck. It is Regeneration Kashtira, which is obviously, you know, if you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know I'm very fond of the Kashtira cards, so that should make a pretty good sense as to why I'm doing that. As always though, if you guys want to pick up any of the cards found in this deck profile, please go ahead and use the affiliate link down in the description below. A portion of that is helping me out, so you're helping me out while you're helping yourselves out, and everybody's happy. But let's just jump right into the deck. First up, we have the 3 Pressure Planet Raitsoth, the 3 Kashtira Unicorns, the 3 Fenrirs, as well as 1 Kashtira Theosis and Kashtira Birth. Now the reason for this is that even though I just got done saying in my YCS deck profile I don't want to play into Droll, Unicorn in this deck is that important. Seeing a copy of Unicorn is so drastically important because it has the crucial stat line of a 2500 attack. And that means everything in this deck. I'll go through what the Regeneration cards do relatively quickly when I get to them, but I wanted to maximize my copies of Unicorn, so here you effectively have 9 copies. 10 if you open up with Fenrir and they stop at the Theosis, but that's pretty unrealistic. But I wanted to maximize the copies of Unicorn, so I have 9 ways to get to a Unicorn, so I can at least reveal it for a Regeneration Archfiend, for example. Moving on though, for the Regeneration cards themselves, we have a pretty robust lineup for that. We have 3 Regeneration Archfiend. This one requires you to reveal a monster with 2500 attack or defense in your hand, and then special summon this, and on its normal or special summon, it can add a Regeneration card from your deck or banishment to your hand, except for a copy of itself. And then during your opponent's end phase, all of the Regeneration monsters share this, I believe, except for Lord. But all the smaller Regenesis monsters, and I'm using smaller as a in like quotation marks, if it's in the graveyard during your opponent's turn at their end phase, because they're sent there this turn, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a really good resource deck. Then we have Regenesis Warrior. What this one does is it can be special summoned if you have a 2500 attack or defense monster on the field, original, so that matters, because you can't just plan it for Fenrir and then start special summoning. I mean, you can in a way. You can go like plan it for Fenrir for Unicorn and then reveal Archfiend, or reveal Unicorn for Archfiend. But what Warrior does is that you can tribute this card as a quick effect. Target a monster your opponent controls, return to the hand, and then it's got this similar recycling effect. The way you special summon this from your hand is by having a 2500 original attack or defense monster on the field. So that's really important. From there, you've got Regenesis Dragon, same summoning condition, but then you can tribute this card, target one spell or trap your opponent controls, and banish it. I think this one's going to be really valuable into a Malice format, and also into Mitsurugi. I can hit the ritual, and most people have been cutting it down to 2 or 1s. So that can be really beneficial. And then obviously, if they set a card in Malice before normal summoning, I can always just banish it, and then if it was a trap, they lose out on that. And if it wasn't, they can't bluff that they had one. So that's going to be really solid. Then we have Regenesis Sage. This is an Omni Negate. If they activate a card or effect, quick effect, I can send another Regenesis card from a hand or face-up field to the graveyard, negate the activation, and destroy it. And then obviously in the end phase, I can recite during my opponent's end phase, I can recycle that. Now you might be wondering, like what the point is here. It's just, honestly, these are just utility cards. Regenesis Lord is the big one. Can only be special summoned from your hand by banishing a face-up monster you control with 2500 original attack and defense. It has to tribute one of these. But you can only special summon it once per turn this way. If it's special summoned, you can set one Regenesis spell or trap from your deck, so it can bypass Ash, which is really good. Gains 2500 attack during the battle phase only, and it does piercing. So it's pretty solid, actually. I'm not sure how much I'm realistically going to be playing it, but it does seem good. And then for the Regenesis spells and traps, there are 3 currently. First up, we have Regenesis itself. It's just the name. It is just a reinforcement of the army, so a search spell for Regenesis monsters. And it either adds it to hand or sends it to the graveyard, so it can be a Foolish Burial as well, which is pretty cool. Or if you control a Regenesis monster, you can add 1 monster with 2500 attack and defense from your deck to your hand instead. Now, I will later on in this video mention what those could be, or maybe in another video. I have to go through Neuron and look at all of the 2500 attack, and defense monsters in the game. I know one offhand, I believe, is Xiaoryu, which is like whatever, but I'm sure there's some really cool synergies there. And then if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn is set there, you can banish it and then target 1 Regenesis monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So that's really good because it can help recycle them even further. There's Regenesis Code, which is a card I wasn't totally sure how many copies I wanted to play, but we're going to start off with a full 3 here. Special summon 1 Regenesis monster from your deck, but send it to the graveyard during your opponent's end phase. Also, this is a quick play spell, so they have an emergency teleport. Crazy. Until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extra deck. And then during your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn is sent there, you can banish it and then target one of your banished Regenesis monsters and special summon it. So, in theory, you can reveal for Archfiend, special summon Archfiend, grab Lord, banish the Lord, special summon, or banish the Archfiend, summon the Lord, and then bring it back with code later. That's just an example. But that is the Regenesis monsters and spells. But last up we have Regenesis Birth, because just like Cashiers, they have a birth card. This one's a continuous trap. You can send one Regenesis monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position. So they have a Book of Moon, which is pretty crazy. Also, a really cool thing about Birth is that if you open up a Birth, it can actually just get you access to your engine, because you can just Book of Moon their monster and then send like Archfiend, for example, and if you have another monster that you can reveal, you can just add Archfiend back to your hand in the end phase. You just get started that way, which is really cool. But the other effect is that during your opponent's turn, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon as many Regenesis monsters as possible with different names from your hand, graveyard, and banishment, but send them to the graveyard during the end phase. So that can set up all of your utility effects. And then you can only use that effect once per turn. You can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn, but it's a really good way to get your engine started as well, or continue to have your engine. Then for the non-engine, we have 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Droll Lockbirds, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 3 Foolos, and 2 Perulias. This does conflict with the Droll Lockbird, which isn't my favorite. There is a chance I switch Droll Lockbird to Effect Failure, because then at least I have more cards to draw off of the Mole Charmies. I'm not sure even how I feel about maining 5 Charmies, but I figured the best bet with that is just to have as many powerful cards as I can. And then double Ghost Ogre. This is a card I think that will be really solid. Just getting cards off the field in this deck I think is going to be the way to winning, honestly, like just removal effects. So cards like Ghost Ogre are really good. And then the Triple Tactics Talent, as always, because this is just like one of the best cards in the game. For the extra deck, we have Mud Dragon of the Swamp, World Chalice, Guard Dragon, Almarduke, and Garura, because I am playing Super Poly in the side deck. These cover basically everything. This covers different types, but same attribute. This covers same type and attribute, but different names. And this covers the full field of Malice if they choose to go for it. Then we have Psychic End Punisher and Changing. I do play a decent amount of tuners, so I figured I should have some synchros in there that can potentially be really detrimental to your opponent. Changing obviously is really good because it boosts stats. And just shreds all your opponent's monsters. And then this plus Planet is just a crazy amount of boosting. And then you have Psychic End Punisher for just like almost game shots and also just being really obnoxious. For the Xyz, I'm playing Big Eye, Flare Metal, Dracosac, and Dark Armed, and then Zeus as well as Typhon just for utility. And then I'm playing All Mirage, SP, Unicorn, and Access Code Talker. The reason for All Mirage is just so that way I can turn any hand trap into something that can be combined with SP, or with a cashier monster you go to SP to clear cards. It's also just another attribute, which is going to be really good. And then we just have a small link climb engine into access code for potential game shots. I don't realistically expect to be using that extra deck much, but I wanted to max out on its efficiency while I could. Then for the side deck, we have 3 Artifact Lancias, 2 Chaos Hunters. This is a card I might actually bump up to 3 in this deck. Not just because it's good against Malice, which is, obviously really good. Another reason to play Effect Failure actually is so that way I can protect my Chaos Hunter from stuff like Nightmare Cerberus. But Chaos Hunter specifically has 2500 attack, which is really important because it gets to that 2500 line, so that means that I can summon my Regeneration monsters. Then there's 3 Ghost Bells, 3 Super Polys, 1 copy of There Can Be Only One, 2 Solemn Judgments for now. This might actually go down to 1, and then 1 Dragon's Mind. I might switch out the Solemn Judgment for the Dragon's Mind. Not totally sure yet. What Dragon's Mind does is that if you have a 2500 attack monster, attack or defense, and a spell card, trap card, or a monster's effect is activated, you can negate the activation and destroy that card. And then if this is in your graveyard, you can pay 2500 life points, set it, and then you banish it when it leaves the field. So the cool thing about the paying life points thing is that it does actually randomly synergize with Psychic End Punisher. So I can pay 2500 life points, and then the Psychic End Punisher obviously will be unaffected by cards while I'm lower in life points. But that is the deck for now. I'll have to see how it does at locals. Okay, so we have a full match at locals here. This time, I'm using that Kashtira Regenesis deck that I just showed you all that worked out pretty well. I think at this point I was 1-0, and I'm facing off against another local buddy who's using the Shining Sarcophagus deck, actually. So it'll be really interesting to see. That's a deck that just received new support thanks to Alliance Insight with the Dark Magician Girl. Very powerful card for the deck, honestly, because what it does is it sets up more consistency points. Getting to Shining Sarcophagus is legitimately the entire deck's game plan. So if you can't do that, then you're struggling pretty hard. Luckily, the Dark Magician Girl lets you do that. And we see that the die roll was done. Seen his hand right away. 2 copies of Eater Million, 1 copy of Turn Silence, I believe, and a Shining Sarcophagus. That's huge. So he's going to start off, I believe, thinking through his turn there. Yep, and he's going to banish 5 face down for the Eater of Millions. Now, his zone setup is a little wonky, so forgive me for that. It's always a little strange playing against him. He just kind of puts cards wherever he wants, but as long as I can know where they are, it's not the end of the world. Also, I'm going to apologize now. The lighting was atrocious. Finding good lighting for recording an overhead view has been a bit difficult at locals, but we're doing our best. So he actually summons 2 Eater Millions on his opening turn. Then he activates the Shining Sarcophagus. That's going to get him access to everything else that he needs in the deck if its effect resolves, which it does here. Takes a moment to look through what he can do. And you can even see a Soul Absorption there. So he's playing a really interesting version where he can, gain a ton of life points and just kind of do some silly things like that. But he ends up searching Gandora G, which, that's an okay choice. I think, personally, I would have gone for the gadgets and then for the Ties That Bind and, set up a bunch of points of interactions, but neither here nor there. And he passes turn with a set card. I draw for turn after he was hit by Droll Mockbird, and I special summon, I believe that's a Kashtira Unicorn. Having a hard time telling with the lighting. This will kind of show what it is here, though, once I look at what we added. Yep, it's a Fenrir. Is that a Fenrir? Yeah, and then I reveal Unicorn to summon Regenesis Archfiend. Regenesis Archfiend will now be able to search for a Regenesis card, which is going to be huge there, because now that means that we have both the level 7 on the field in the form of Archfiend, or as in the form of Fenrir, that also can be a banish card, as well as the Archfiend getting access to all of our Regenesis cards. I go ahead and add Regenesis, which, after playing this deck a little bit more, I think was actually really greedy, because getting hit by Droll Mockbird there would really not be ideal. I think the proper add in most scenarios like this is honestly Regenesis Code, which I've found to be the more powerful spell of the two. Regenesis Code being that emergency teleport-like quick play spell, so it just gets you the body on the field directly. But the Regenesis is allowed to resolve, which is going to be huge for me. And now I have to think about how to play around 2 copies of Eater of Millions. Obviously, 1 copy will be easily played around, thanks to my Fenrir, but the second one might be an issue, so I go ahead and grab Regenesis Sage, which is going to very quickly get put onto the table since I have a 2,500 on the field. No big deal there. From there, we see a Kashtira Theosis activated, which is going to get access to Kashtira Unicorn. Another thing I was considering in the deck actually was a single copy of Kashtira Scareclaw, as well as Kashtira Riseheart. Now, these 2 cards give you additional flexibility, but Kashtira Riseheart would then, obviously be able to set up Kashtira Birth, and Scareclaw Kashtira could break apart boards like this pretty easily. But that's neither here nor there. I end up summoning the Unicorn, searching for Birth, then normal summoning my second Unicorn from hand. And I think the line here was to play the Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation. The idea here being that I can destroy both of the Eaters a Million, as well as the Shining Sarcophagus, because I'm going to be able to... Well, actually, I can't even destroy the Shining Sarcophagus. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking there. So we destroy one, banishing Fenrir, destroy the second one, banishing the Unicorn, and then I believe I actually just destroy the face down. Yeah, because the Shining Sarcophagus just doesn't matter. That will then banish the Theosis, which will then trigger to add back Unicorn to hand. At least I think it should be Unicorn. I end up adding back Fenrir. Now, thinking about this, actually, I think that might be a mistake. I think it's probably better just to add back the Unicorn, because then that way I have a 2,500 in hand for the next turn. No big deal. He attempts to summon Gandora G. I then have to explain that it's not a quick effect to summon. And, yeah, that's not ideal. But, it's locals, mistakes are going to happen. We're both here to learn, no big deal. So, and also, luckily, no private information was revealed. I already knew the Gandora G was there. So then I actually activate the Birth to bring back the Fenrir and attack with my 3 monsters. The Fenrir will banish the Shining Sarcophagus face down, which now has completely broken his field. And that should be, let's see, 25, 5,000, 7,400. So probably the better play, honestly, than anything is just to pass, because there's just so many points of interaction he can't do anything. I did consider making a Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, but that loses to a single imperm, and then I lose 2 points of interaction as well. Not a big deal. So he scoops it up, and we're going to go into game 2. Now, remember, he's playing a Banish deck, which typically, you know, those kinds of decks can be a bit of an issue for metagame decks, but thankfully my deck works very well into a Banish strategy. Both the Regenesis and the Cashier engine actually benefit by having banished cards. Regenesis Code, for example, can banish itself to special summon back a Regenesis monster that's, you know, that's going to be free, so that's a ton of utility there. And then obviously Birth and Theosis can trigger and do all that. So both of my engines don't actually mind being banished, which is really good to see. Now, he, on the other hand, is choosing not to side deck. That's fine, but, you know, ideally we would see some cards from him coming in. Maybe, you could see Dimensional Barrier, for example, calling Xyz monsters. You could see, even there could be only one to stop both the Fenrir and Unicorn from hitting the field. But, going into game 2 in just a moment, he will probably take the play, giving me the draw, which will be fine. Both decks are shuffled and cut, and we are ready to go into game 2 of this duel. We'll have to see what happens. And we see him opening up with a hand full of good cards there. The trap card, I don't remember the name of it, but it banishes like my entire extra deck, and he actually makes me go first. So I activate Pressure Planet Ratesoth, which is just off a frame, to grab my Unicorn. Now, if he had Droll, that would be not ideal, but luckily I would also have a 2500 to reveal. The Droll does not happen, so I summon Unicorn. And you can see I have an Ash Blossom in hand, so that's going to be really good as well. It's going to give me some additional layers of interaction there. And I grab Theosis. To me, that would indicate that Birth is probably already in hand. But we activate Theosis, summoning the Fenrir and grabbing yet another Unicorn. So now I have a 25 on the field and a 25 in hand. So both Regenesis Archfiend and the normal Regenesis monsters can be summoned. I believe that is Regenesis Sage summoned, and then Regenesis Dragon. Now, Regenesis Dragon is the worst of the Regenesis monsters. You tribute it as a quick effect to banish a spell or trap your opponent controls. It's really just there to be fodder for the Sage, but it also can be good in certain situations, like this one, where Shining Sarcophagus, unfortunately, is very vulnerable to being banished. And then, obviously, Sage is there to be a negation if all else fails. So you have those 2 interactions, plus a Fenrir, plus a Unicorn. That's 4 interactions, plus I have an Ash Blossom in hand as well. That's a ton of layers of interaction. Now, the reason why that's so good is because you'll also notice I didn't play into Nibiru. I didn't really play into any of the Charmies too heavily. The worst one there, honestly, would have been Perulia, but it didn't even happen. So he activates the Nemlaria search spell, I believe, and that's hit by an Ash Blossom, and he activates the monster as a pendulum, and that activates its pendulum effect, which is going to be unfortunate. So then I am forced to tribute my Regenesis Dragon to banish it. Now that's going to give him free reign to use his Shining Sarcophagus cards, which is absolutely terrifying. This is the part that could be a really big issue, but luckily I think there's a couple of missteps here. But the cool thing about this is that no matter what happens to my Sage, if it goes to the graveyard this turn, it's going to go back to my hand. And I'm also going to have a Dragon in hand next turn, and I have a Unicorn in hand already. So my field is actually already going to have some pretty powerful cards. And remember, I do have access to Cashier Birth in the deck still, so I will have almost effectively the entire full field once again. But we add Silent Swordsman to hand, summon that Silent Swordsman, and sets a card before passing play back to me, and the Dragon goes to hand. I think the Gandora G may have needed to be summoned there. I'm not totally sure. But it is my turn. I activate Unicorn to search for the Cashier Birth. And that is going to set up even more layers of disruption there, because now if he activates any spells or effects, I can obviously banish 3 from his graveyard. And he activates his Millions Trap, which I believe just banishes like 95% of my extra deck, which is a pretty potentially problematic thing if I was playing a deck that wasn't a value deck. And what I mean by a value deck is that it's just big cards that want to kind of scratch out advantage through the main deck without using those extra deck resources, without playing into too many cards my opponent has. So, yeah, I think he banishes like 2 cards face down from his extra deck, and for every 2 cards he banishes, I banish 1 card from my extra deck. And I believe it's random. So I think he does 14, so I lose 7 cards in my extra deck, which is a pretty decent amount. That can be problematic, even for this deck that doesn't really use its extra deck. There are times where I have some... Oh, they're face up, actually. There are times where I can definitely lose out. Oh, no, I guess it is. For every card he banishes, I banish 1? I don't know. Well, large chunk of my extra deck is gone. Not ideal, but that is okay. Because, luckily, now that means that his only unknown card is no longer there. So I activate the Cashier at Birth. We special summon Regeneration Dragon. And I think it's really just a matter of cleaning up the game from here. Though, looking at this, I think I probably... Yeah, okay. Need to summon another Cashier monster just in case I have to use Sage to get rid of the dragon for anything, and that'll be game. So, as you can see, that was a very quick game, and we are going to see how the rest of locals goes. Alright, so locals tonight did not go well at all. I went 2-3 with the updated deck that or with the same deck I played last night, but I changed out, I just put in the Replicard Lab. The idea being that this is just like a good level 7 extender, because you can banish a level 7 to summon from hand, and then you can basically summon like any Regeneration monster from your deck, which is really cool. But it didn't work out. Round 1, I played, I think it was Mitsurugi. I ended up losing. Round 2, what did I play against round 2? I played against Sky Striker, and I ended up winning that one pretty quickly. He just couldn't really answer the Regeneration cards, which was really good. Round 3, let me grab my score pad from last night. Round 3. Oh no, round 1 I played against Heraldic Ryziel and I got hand loops. That was really just, that deck is crazy actually. Round 2 I played against Striker, ended up winning that one. Round 3 I played against Mitsurugi Ryziel, I won that one. I don't really know how I won that one because like the Kashtira version of the deck, the way I had it set up, just didn't have enough like pushes, so that was unfortunate. Round 4 I played against Round 4 I played against pure Mitsurugi actually, and I ended up winning, or I ended up losing that one. I believe, because let's see, it was loss, win. Yeah, so I ended up winning that one. And then round 5 I played against, round 4 I played against pure Mitsurugi, lost that one, and then round 5 I played against Mitsurugi Ryziel and lost that one. So overall, the Regeneration Cashier deck, while it's cool, the build I had at least wasn't very good. So that's why I threw together the build I'm going to show you guys right now. So like I said, last night was not very good. So tonight I'm going to try something different, and we'll kind of ultimately decide if this deck is worth continuing, or at least this engine in Regeneration is worth continuing to experiment with. I do have a few ideas other than what I'm doing tonight. Like I did kind of consider the invoked engine actually, hilariously, because this deck lacks a normal summon, so you can always just like normal summon Alistair, and then do some like link plays and to get into Makaba, and then you have a Makaba on the field to do stuff with, and that's a very minimal engine, so you can play like a couple of unicorns and a couple of Fenrir's, and then just like the invoked engine as well. There's also the Primite engine, which gives me access to Drill Beam and stuff like that. The problem with both of those engines, though, is they don't give you a 2500 in hand. One engine that does, though, is the Voice engine, because you can get Saphira to hand, and then continue to play from there. There's also the, what's the name of it? There's a private engine. Well, then there's the Bestial Engine, which I'm trying tonight as well. So let's just jump through this deck really quick. Hopefully Locals goes better tonight than it did last night. But yeah, so first we have 3 Archfiends, and then 1 each of Dragon, Warrior, and Sage. I'm gonna try not playing Lord tonight. I found last night that Lord never came up and was honestly just like the worst card in the deck. So I think we're just gonna try without it tonight and see how that goes. One thing I am considering though is multiple Sages, just because then like I have a second one to teleport out with code, and then I have an easier way to get to the negate, just in case the Archfiend gets stopped. Just something to consider. Then I have 3 Regenesis, 3 Regenesis Code, and 1 Regenesis Birth. So another thing that could be considered actually, funnily enough, is cutting back on Regenesis itself. Code is just a stronger card in general. It bypasses the restriction that Archfiend has, so it might be worth playing more codes and less Regenesis itself, just to see the better starter. In a hand where you have code or Regenesis, or like code or Regenesis, code is gonna almost always be better because it also lets you play through Droll and Lockbird, and while Droll is a little popular right now, it is still worth noting. Like, Droll isn't the most popular in the main deck, but it is something to note. Then for the Bestials, we have 3 Lubellions, 3 Baldrakes, 1 Magnemite, 1 Jerusalem, 1 Sarnier, and 1 Regained. So the obvious synergy here is that the Bestials all have 2500, so that is 9 2500 attack point monsters that I can draw, so that makes Archfiend much more easy to summon. Also, these are solid into Mitsurugi, and then of course you have stuff like Regained, which can be really good into Malice on their turn, obviously. So that's pretty good. And then of course, you know, Baldrake being able to banish cards is gonna be really good. And they're also just like big bodies. So that is it for the engine, though. For the non-engine, I'm playing 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Fulos. I'm gonna play 3 Ghost Ogres, 3 Veilers, and 3 Imperms tonight. The idea here being that the Bestials and everything are just gonna force out those interactions, like the graveyard interactions and stuff, and I want to be able to hit as many cards on the field as I can. Even though Veiler isn't that great because of Mitsurugi Prayers and obviously the Malice traps, I think it's still worth considering, especially in this deck because of, at least in the case of the Malice deck, because of Dragon. I can always just Dragon away the set card and then, you know, be good to go there. And then the last hand traps I'm playing 2 Nibiru, and then I'm playing 1 Triple Duchess Talent. The other thing too is I wanted to have as many like live cards to draw off of Fulos as possible, and with Nibiru being such a blowout, even though like realistically you can generally play around it or play into it in a more efficient manner, a lot of people don't, so that's something to consider. Then for the extra deck, you have 3 Super Poly targets. So you have Mud Dragon, Garura, and Almarduke. Almarduke is especially going to be good because my matchup against Malice can be a little wonky. So having the Almarduke just to clear their field and they go for their full setup is going to be really good. And then 1 Jiraishin, the Cursed Thunder God. This is over the Psychic End Punisher. I don't think I'm going to be summoning this that often, but it is worth noting. Psychic level 11, and then what it says is each time your opponent activates a card effect, you gain 300 life points when it resolves, and then during your opponent's turn, you can pay 1500 life points and tribute it, then activate one of these effects. You can either destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls, or destroy all face-up spells and traps your opponent controls. So, it's not the worst. It's actually also a time win con, funnily enough, but there are just like enough level 8s in the deck that those in the level 3 tuners can be kind of beneficial. Then I play Chinging still. This is going to be especially good with the Bestials, like in conjunction with them, because I can do some really rude things, like, you know, banishing cards and field non-targeting. Then we have M7 and Lars. I'm not totally sure on the extra deck right now, honestly. It's very up in the air. Like, I was considering playing even more Super Poly targets, but I figured a couple rank 6s couldn't hurt. Lars is also 2500, so that's really good. It's an Omni Gate. Then we have Dracosack, Hope Harbinger. This could be Photon Lord. It honestly probably should be Photon Lord. If I can remember where I put the Photon Lord before the tournament, I might just switch it out for that, because then at least I can overlay 2 8s to have a monster negate, and then if it's the Regenesis level 8s, then if I detach on their turn in the end phase, they'll come back to hand, which is really good. Then Zeus and Typhon, as always. Then for the links, I play IP, SP, Dark, and right now there's an access code talker. This could also be a Lina, honestly, and then I'd have access to both of the big attributes. The more I think about it, actually, I think this will probably become a Lina, but I just wanted to give you the initial thoughts I have before I make any changes at locals, like right before the tournament. Usually I make it like I might make 1 or 2 changes, but this might be Lina, and then I just have access to both, because Lina also can search out Nibiru and Valor, which is really good. Obviously, Dark does not have a search target, but that's okay, because I also play a ton of lights and a ton of darks, so I have easy access to both. From there, the side deck is very anti-malice because of the way this deck is built. Like, there's so many Bestials. So we have 3 Chaos Hunters, 3 Artifact Lancias, and then I'm playing 2 Perulias, 3 Super Polys, and then 2 Judgment and 2 Dragon's Mind. I really like Dragon's Mind a lot, but I don't want to dedicate to having like 3 and then 1 Judgment, because I want to have a decent chance to see either one. Because Dragon's Mind being a hard once per turn means that obviously it's not that beneficial to have too many copies of, so we have this. But against Malice, for example, like these 9 always going first, and then going second, like these 11 go in. And then these usually go in too, obviously. But that is the deck. It's a bit more, honestly, of like a stun deck than I think I was giving it credit for initially. Last night, I know I definitely tried to play it a little too aggressively, so that was an issue there on my part, which has led to the poor finish that I just mentioned before the video. And yeah, we'll see how tonight goes. Hopefully this deck performs much better. Alright, so we haven't done a round-by-round update in a while, so we're going to try to do our best for this. There's only 2 more rounds after this, but I'm currently 2-0. I have just faced my second pure Mitsurugi in a row. So I feel like my deck is built pretty well for that, you know, with all the Bestials and obviously the Regenesis cards being really good, like I mentioned in the deck profile like just a little bit ago. But so round 1, I end up winning 2-0. Game 1, it's a pretty long grind back and forth, but I keep using my Bestials to banish the Murakomos, so that way he can't field wipe me, which is going to be how I win the game there. And then I end up just like OTKing him out of nowhere, basically. So I get a bunch of them back, a bunch of the Regenesis guys back during his end phase, and it was just too much. Game 2 ended up ending in time, but I was still ahead, and I was going to be able to push for game on the next turn anyway. He didn't have the greatest field, and the Regenesis cards were just such high-value cards alongside the couple Bestials that I had that it was just overwhelming, and he couldn't do much. Round 2, I played against another pure Mitsurugi. I end up winning game 1 just very quickly with a ton of names. He can't do anything to stop that. Game 2, I can't break through his board like nearly as well as I could in game 1, so that was pretty unfortunate. And then game 3, I open up with Judgment, Imperm, Archfiend, Sage with a Warrior in hand to send off the Sage. I also have a Bestial in hand, so he just can't really do much. He goes Lightning Storm, and I activate Sage, and then he activates a second Lightning Storm. I Judgment it. He summons a Aramasa, and that is met by an Imperm, and that is the end of his turn. So then in the end phase, my Sage, which got sent by code, gets added back to hand, and so does the Warrior. And then I just very quickly summon a bunch of bodies and win the game. So we're 2-0. 1 more win, we guarantee prizing. Hopefully we go 4-0, which would be pretty awesome since it's been pretty rough since last night. I mean, just these last couple weeks have been pretty rough, but last night was especially bad. We went 2-3, so let's see how tonight goes. All right, we are all done. Ended up 4-0 with the Bestial Regenesis deck, which is pretty solid. Round 3, I actually played against Mitsurugi Fiendsmith, against Mark. Game 1, I had a Ghost Ogre that, like, you just really reasonably shouldn't play around that card right now in most scenarios. And then game 2, I opened up Druid's Worm and Magnamut to counter his graveyard, so he just couldn't really get anything going. And then round 4, I played against another Fiends with Mitsurugi. This time I played against the channel nemesis Nico. Game 1, it was just a very quick game where there was a ton of bestials, too much for him to do anything with. And then game 2, I actually just kept grinding with Druid's Worm, or not Druid's Worm, Baldrake. After, how did it go? I summoned Baldrake to banish a Engraver, and then the next turn after using Super Poly, I used SP to banish the second Engraver in his graveyard, and I brought back my first Baldrake off of Regained because I just wasn't seeing any engine. And in the last turn, I had drawn a second Baldrake, so when he sent the third Engraver to grave and activated its effect, I banished it so he had no more Engravers, and it was just a very quick grind from there, with no engine, with no Fiends with engine even. He couldn't do anything, he wasn't seeing his Mitsurugi cards either. So overall, it was a resounding success, and next week we'll have to see how the deck does again.